Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run for the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, as we have got some really heavy rain clearing eastwards at the moment, but over the rest of this working week it is actually looking pretty dry, as we do see a transient area of high pressure building. Wednesday, Thursday and Friday doesn't look like there's going to be too much precipitation around at all, apart from a few odd showers. But as we head into the weekend, that was never going to remain, and we are likely to see westerly flow return and it to turn unsettled once again. Next week, though, there is some real interest potentially for some further disruptive weather, and the reason for that is the potential of seeing some of the remnants of the Hurricane Kirk, which has affected parts of the United States. That could clear through the North Atlantic, giving some impacts to our shores. Massive uncertainty in regards to that, and it does look like generally we're going to see some more northern blocking towards Greenland and Iceland. That's been cropping up on the models over the past few days, and that could give quite a cold period during the middle of the month. That's as potentially the energy with Kirk clears, we could see some really quite cold air arrive from the north. So yes, a bit of a lull at the moment, but as we see from those longer range runs, could be turning very disruptive and really energizing again as we head into next week. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now if you start on the live radar, you can see there is some exceptionally heavy rain in the far southeast at the moment. It is slowly clearing as I'm recording this around 7 PM, but just a few hours ago for much of the East Midlands, London and East Anglia, we were seeing some exceptionally widespread torrential rain, but it has moved through pretty quickly, and now only parts of sort of down towards Kent and East London are seeing any sort of significant rain now. Most areas it's just a few patchy showers and some thicker cloud as this slowly does clear away. And as said, through the next few days there won't be much rain at all, and it's all due to these low pressure systems that have been sort of milling around over the past few days, now finally clearing. Temperatures around 7 PM this evening, not particularly cold, but not particularly warm either, generally average to slightly above average, and that's because we've got a bit of a milder sector associated with this low, but we will see a bit of fresher air moving in over the coming days, as we do see that area of high pressure building in again. It's not building in with a cold air mass, but a little bit of a chilly air mass around average, or maybe a degree below average, and that will give a little bit of a chill to the air. But to be honest, with no rain, no strong winds, and less cloud, it will actually feel pretty decent for early October out there. Now if you look at the past 24-hour precipitation, we can see we've had some exceptionally high amounts of rainfall in eastern parts of England, especially up towards the East Midlands and northeast England over the past 24 hours, stretching down to those areas north of London, towards Hertfordshire, out towards Bedfordshire and towards Cambridge. Quite a lot of significant rainfall, and again this is just the past 24 hours. When we add on all the rain we've seen over the past week to 10 days, a lot of areas have seen at least a month, if not more, worth of rainfall. Some areas 2 or 3 times that amount. So yeah, we've been seen some significant rain. Luckily, it is early on in the autumn, so the ground hasn't been too saturated in the prior week, so we haven't seen out of this world flooding. Still flooding in places. If this had occurred in January, for example, we could be really underwater. The one bad thing though is it means any excessive rainfall we see over the next month to 2 months could have more disruptive effects because of the amount of water that has already fallen and accumulated. So that is going to be one we have to watch for over the coming weeks. Any major disruptive weather in terms of rainfall will be exacerbated by the amount of rain that we have seen over the past week. Now if we do head over to the latest UKV, you can see that heavy rain clearing down eastern areas through this afternoon and clearing overnight tonight, and as we head into Wednesday there is a few showers around in the far southeast, but for most it's dry and we should see a bit of sunshine coming out, actually really quite pleasant. As we move into Thursday, similar conditions where it is again pretty sunny, minimal cloud, and actually looks like a summer's day. Yes, we won't have summery temperatures, probably be low teens at best, but for early October, considering what we've seen in the past week, it is actually pretty decent indeed. As we head into Friday, still decent for many, but you can see the weather fronts arriving from the west, and we start to see some heavy rain through Saturday and Sunday as that westerly flow starts to return, and you can see low pressure is starting to come in off the Atlantic. Of course, Hurricane Kirk, or at least the remnants of that, will be moving in off the Atlantic over the next sort of couple of days after this. So yeah, it could be some real disruptive weather after this. At the moment, we only see out to Sunday, which isn't particularly far away, but in the following days it could get quite a lot more disruptive, and yeah, we'll have to keep a very, very close eye on what happens in the next, as I said, few days. Now, if you go over to the temperatures, you can see as we head through Tuesday, today you can see temperatures have been poor, where we've seen that heavy rain, 11 degrees at best in some regions. But as we head into tomorrow, temperatures will rise a bit further, maybe even actually mid-teens there, 16, 17, but most low teens. As we head into Thursday, again, relatively decent conditions, 14 to 16 degrees, and the same can be said for Friday. For into the weekend, it's still mild, actually even milder in the west, but there is heavier rain associated with it, so it probably won't feel all too mild when we've got cloud and rain moving in. So you see the next 5 days, not too bad. It's the 5 days following that where we could see disruption returning. Now, if you go over to the GFS, if we actually just have a look at the Northern Hemisphere view first, I do just want to highlight where our weather is coming from. Now, you can see at the moment we've got Hurricane Kirk down here in the Caribbean, moving up into the North Atlantic, and this is where it could really affect us as we move into early next week. You can see it gets picked up by the jet stream and potentially pushed our way. So you can see the track there of Kirk is in the tropical area, and then very quickly through Monday into Tuesday it heads our way, getting carried by the jet stream. We'll see some runs in a minute that don't do this and keep it well to our south or completely disintegrate it. So again, massive uncertainty in regards to this, but you can see how very quickly it goes from a hurricane, a tropical system in the mid-Atlantic, into the north, moving into the North Atlantic and becoming a more traditional North Atlantic low. Now, if you go over to the European view, you can see low pressure clearing at the moment, being replaced by this transient area of higher pressure, looking pretty decent over the coming days, before eventually low pressure returns into the weekend. It's not a particularly severe low and it doesn't move through quickly, but it's really into Tuesday where we start to see ex-Hurricane Kirk there getting picked up by the jet stream and getting pushed in. Could be really significant indeed. Very strong winds associated with this, and yeah, some very heavy rain as well. Again, it'll be one to keep a very close eye on. Again, I'm not going to delve into too much detail just because we're not seeing consistency from runs. This might not happen at all. But you can see the wind gusts would be widespread and would be severe. We're looking at 50, 60, 70 mile per hour wind gusts here. So yeah, could be pretty bad indeed. These are in kilometers per hour. So 100 kilometers per hour is about low 60s in terms of miles per hour. So again, we'll have to wait and see exactly how this does develop, but it could be pretty widespread wind field and pretty severe if this came off in around 7, 8, 9 days time. But if we go back to the UK view, you can see Kirk potentially clearing, and then we see some North Atlantic blocking, trying to push in northerly winds. Now, it's not as sustained and not as direct as we were seeing yesterday, but nonetheless, it's still cold and it's still unsettled with that blocking to our north, giving a real chill as we head into mid-October. Again, we need to keep a very close eye on how this does continue to develop. Again, Kirk will come first, or the remnants of Kirk will come first, and then we'll see colder conditions. We'll see that block coming in. Again, the remnants of Kirk could really stir up that blocking, could make it a bit more severe, or could completely destroy it if the jet stream is a little bit more powerful as a result of the energy from Kirk. So that's why it's still up in the air. We are seeing huge variability between different runs. Now, if you compare to the GM, again, high pressure building in and then eventually low pressure returning into early next week. You see the remnants of Kirk there heading into the North Atlantic, but you can see not too much comes of it. And actually, it slams into parts of Spain, Portugal, and France, much further to our south. It could nudge a little bit further north. It's become a bit of a channel low. Again, could be pretty windy with this. Again, that will need to be one we keep an eye on. but it's nowhere near as widespread as it isn't as far northwards, and it is a little bit more delayed. But you can see at day 10 though, we have got that extensive blocking because that track is further south, and we have got bitterly cold air pushing in from the north. Look at that big area of darker blues, indicating the upper air temperatures are around that 6 to 10 degrees below average again. We'll have to wait and see. And finally, if we compare to the ECMWF, again, high pressure building at the moment, low pressure returning into early next week. And then you can see the remnants of Kirk. They're heading into the North Atlantic. And look at that, it gets shoved well to our south by the northern blocking. And we don't actually see anything too stormy late next week. Instead, we see a North Atlantic ridge up towards Greenland and cold air getting pumped in from the north. So ECMWF not flirting with Kirk at all and keeping it well to our south, instead just turning us cold and unsettled. Now, to finish the video, have a look at the ensembles. You can see over the coming days it's going to be a little bit chillier than average, but it's going to be dry, so it's going to be made up by those sunny and dry conditions. Into the weekend and start of next week, you can see it goes milder for a time as that low pushes in off the Atlantic with a lot of high precipitation, and then we could see Storm Kirk or the Remnants moving through around the 9th, 10th, 11th sort of period. Again, massive uncertainty with the exact positioning and intensities. You can see the ensembles here are all over the place in terms of the temperatures, but you can see there is definitely a trend of colder than average conditions. Maybe not as much as it was showing yesterday, but I said there's massive variability between runs because of the uncertainty with Kirk and the subsequent blocking. But you can see quite a few runs are cold and some are very cold, almost 10 degrees below average out towards the -5 area, which would give the possibility of even a bit of snow to even sort of moderate hills further north, as that would be very interesting into mid-October. But sort of the general theme continues to show cold and unsettled as we head into the middle portion of October. And if we look at those 2 meter temperatures, it is fairly respondent, kind of mid-teens for London, that is, over the next week, maybe rising at times, maybe over the coming days, and then it's back towards low teens, maybe even just about double digits into next week if we did see cold northerly winds finally pushing. And I must emphasize this for London, further northwards could be a good few degrees, maybe even 5 degrees or more colder than this. And then finally, if we compare it to the ECMWF ensembles, a little less bullish in terms of the colder pattern in the longer term, but still plenty of colder runs, but it's broadly the same with the up and down in terms of temperatures and the low precipitation over the next few days, and then the very high precipitation into next week. So there could be some exceptionally disruptive conditions next week, but there's so much at play that it's difficult to pinpoint exactly what will happen. But hopefully we've highlighted the potential scenarios and the risks that there are potential for very stormy conditions with remnants of Kirk, and the potential for some very cold conditions on the backside of those lows with a bit of north blocking. It's all up to play for, but yeah, middle part of October could be very disruptive indeed. The big positive, the next few days look decent, dry, and fairly settled. So do go out and enjoy it if you have got any outdoor plans. As I said, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.